I would start off by saying this week was one of the most bizarre weeks I've ever seen, but we're going to get to that in just a moment. Welcome back to the A team, Representative Echols and Representative Dunnington. Let's start, however, with, it was a tragedy. A third colleague of you guys, since you were up there this past, in your terms, passed away. Representative Claudia Griffith, your thoughts?
Yeah, I came in with Representative Griffith in 2014, and she was just such a treasure to be around. She was kind of the mom to our caucus, and it was such a huge loss for us last Saturday to have her life slip away from us so quickly. So many things that we would have liked to have said to her before she's gone. A great reminder for us to all be kind to one another and to say the things that we want to say before it's too late. Claudia represented a strong passion for women's issues, for health issues, for children, for veterans. It's a huge loss, both to the Democratic caucus, but a huge loss to the House of Representatives, and we'll do our best to act and live in a way that she would have wanted us to.
Mr. Leader?
You know, you can't say enough great things about Representative Claudia Griffith. She was from Cleveland County, the Norman area. She was just a stalwart for health care issues, for veterans issues, and for education. The state really lost an incredible leader that day, and it reminds us of a couple things. This life is short, and we had a service for her, and I think of that even now this last Friday in the House chamber. It was an absolutely beautiful service, and it was an incredible tribute to an incredible woman. It was our third colleague to pass away, and it never gets any easier. And to Claudia's family and her friends, we're praying for you. We love you, and we're a better state because of Claudia Griffith.
All right, well, it's a great tribute by both of you guys. Let's get back into the area that we were talking about earlier, which is this week that happened. I remember there was a leader in the state of Oklahoma that showed up on election night and said on this station, you know, we're not going to screw up this implementation. We're going to do the will of the voters. I'm just telling you, it has become bizarre world. First, the story about the general counsel at the State Department of Health, then the story about the director at the pharmacy board. You all know those stories. You look at News 9, news9.com, see those stories. The question I have for you, Mr. Leader, how does it affect the impact, or the implementation, rather, of 788?
Yeah, there's so many things that have come out. And what I said that night, and I stand by it, is that my position and the legislature's position is we will effectuate the will of the voters. The will of the voters was in 788 that the health department were to set up rules and regulations, and that's what we let happen. Now, we're going to talk about a little later that those have become so toxic and they were so messed up that the legislature is going to have to step in to fix some of these problems. But, I mean, now you're looking at the possibility of two last-minute regulations that weren't fully vetted, weren't fully studied. Then new has come to light from emails from the general counsel to a possible, what looks like a bribe. I mean, it's a mess, and the legislature is going to have to step in.
Your challenge was to act like adults.
That's right.
It's not happening. Your thoughts about how this is going to impact us moving forward?
Well, the whole thing has been a mess since the actual date of the election. And one of the things that's so unfortunate, something that we've talked about on this show a number of times, is that the House of Representatives actually had a bill ready, passed it through the House, and sent it over to the Senate that would have fixed a lot of these problems before it ever became a problem. Unfortunately, that wasn't taken up on the Senate, and here we find ourselves in Pandora's box, just one thing after another. The fact is the people of Oklahoma voted on this issue, and we need to make sure that the will of the people is heard and drown out the rest of the noise and get this done. It's time for us to be the adults in the room that we should have been from the get-go.
Speaking of that, well, there was one adult in the room, which is the Attorney General. The Attorney General last week says, or this week said, look, these rules, the way they were done, you should reconsider, okay? And then the board chair at the State Department of Health said, yeah, reconsider. And the governor, who was for the rules before she was against the rules, I don't know, I can't even keep count of that John Kerry stuff going on. My question to you is the AG, is this the guy who's actually going to straighten all this up and put the adults in charge?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question, and you know, a lot of folks have reached out to me and said, well, this seems really political that the AG would do this. But let's just take a moment and say enough with the politics of it. The AG is the head attorney of the state, and the AG's job is to look at what kind of potential troubles that we might come into from a legal standpoint. After the State Department of Health made their ruling, we were sued, and he took a look at that lawsuit, and from a legal perspective decided that yes, we were not going to be in a good position to be able to defend this lawsuit, and as a state, we should hit the pause button, go back, and undo those rules, and he was asking the governor to do the same. I think it was the right move by the AG. I was happy to see it done, and I hope the State Department of Health will follow up.
It's kind of like what we saw recently. I meant to say wouldn't when I said would, But I mean, it does seem bizarre again. But with the AG stepping in, do you think we're finally over the hump in terms of amateur hour?
Well, the AG stepping in was turning a corner. When the AG stepped in and said these last-minute rules that were unvetted, that didn't go through the regular process as all the other rules, you can't do this. And he also pointed out some other rules where the health department had overstepped. So that was kind of the turn of the corner. The next shoe that dropped was the governor said she was rescinding the signing of those rules. And what's really turned the corner is, again, I was all for 788 said the health department should do it. We need to effectuate the will of the people. Now it's time for the legislature to step in, and that's why we started a bipartisan, bicameral committee that's going to start investigating these rules and going to help us move forward in a positive manner. And
let's talk about that group. It's bipartisan. It's the Senate and the House. Is this another example of the adults stepping in? Can you rein all of this madness in?
Yeah, so I'm honored to know, I should say this, I've been appointed the co-chair of this committee. I'm the House chairman. We are going to have open meetings. It's bicameral, bipartisan. It's Republican, Democrats, House and Senate. We are going to meet every Wednesday. We are going to have open meetings every Wednesday. I've seen no fewer at this point than 6 separate bills that all could solve a lot of these issues. We are going to bring people together. We're going to bring them together in a bipartisan way. I have talked to at least 2 of the House Democrats so far on that committee. I feel strongly they're going to work together in good faith. I've talked to the Republican House members. I feel strongly they're going to work together in good faith. And I believe the citizens demand us to work together in good faith to accomplish the will of the people, accomplish it together. And I think you're going to see us get it done.
And time is very short.
Time is very short, and as my colleague to my left here has said a number of times, the most important thing in this is to do the will of the people. It's something that has been said over and over again, but it's something that people don't necessarily believe their government will do, and there's a lot of consternation that comes with that. This group needs to work in a very open, in a very transparent way in order to not reinvent the wheel, but look at what other states have done with medical marijuana and implement something in our state that fits with what the people want. If we do that, we will rebuild the trust that people need to have in their government for us to be able to be effective and do things for the betterment of all of our state.
So much drama. Susan Lucci may be on her way, for all I know. See this again, if you'd like to, at news9.com/yourvotecounts. Follow me, Scott Mitchell, and with what's going on, you should follow me quickly on Twitter @MitchellTalks.